Hi, I'm Dr. David Mickel. So today I thought we'd have a look at chronic fatigue syndrome and dispel some of the myths that I believe exist around it. I was a little bit nervous doing this because it creates bad feeling in other corners of the world where treatment programs, etc., are trying to be discovered to treat this awful condition. And lots of supportive treatments, which actually don't result in a recovery, in my opinion, are never pleased to hear me dispel some of the myths. So, anyway, chronic fatigue syndrome, massive problem. I mean, the United States alone, huge country, there must be 20 million plus, I think, according to the WHO. Now, the interesting thing about chronic fatigue syndrome, which for me is just part of a spectrum of disorders, as I spoke about in other videos, which you can see a link to at the end of this video, is a spectrum of disorders, including fibromyalgia, ME, post-viral fatigue, long COVID now. Um, they are mysterious to medicine, in my opinion. And this is shown in the way that they are given as diagnoses when everything else has been excluded. Now, even that has been difficult for medicine to swallow because it doesn't like to say basically we don't know. So most of the money and efforts to understand the condition are focusing on multiple true effects that happen, but they are not touching on anything to do with the cause, which for me is a fight or flight state with a dysregulated hypothalamic feedback mechanism, as I describe in my short book and other videos. So because of this, we come up with lots of work being done on POTS and Epstein-Barr virus still being there, and now it's COVID, coronavirus 19. It's not, the viruses are gone. Even reactivation of them, if they had a true recurrence of infection of Epstein-Barr or the coronavirus, the diagnosis of chronic fatigue syndrome is no longer appropriate because the diagnosis of exclusion has been lost and replaced by another diagnosis. So all the blood tests, standard set of blood tests, etc., are effectively normal in people with chronic fatigue syndrome, and at that point they're allowed to have a diagnosis. Similarly with long COVID, I have another video coming out about that, but basically if there's no end organ damage and the blood tests are normal, they've got chronic fatigue syndrome secondary to an infection with long COVID, but the long COVID part of it suggests that coronavirus 19, COVID-19 is still present. It is not. It's again, for me, a problem with the hypothalamus. So one of the greatest myths about chronic fatigue syndrome, and at the early stages of trying to develop a treatment before Mickel Therapy became fully evolved, it was difficult to understand why fatigue didn't respond to rest, but it simply does not. And that's because it is not the purpose of the symptom created by the body. If the body wants you to rest, it creates healthy tiredness or exhaustion, which then responds to rest. So programs like graded exercise, etc., are basically never going to allow you to recover by themselves, because once your body is physiologically rehabilitated, say, so if you've been in bed for more than 48, 72 hours as an adult, your musculature becomes very, very weak, and you need a period of rehabilitation for that, usually. As we see in hospital, it's one of the main reasons for people failing to discharge and not be sent home, as they go off their legs. But other than that, chronic fatigue syndrome as a symptom is not a request for rest from your wise, intelligent body consciousness. It is a commentary on the fact that you have missed or possibly suppressed a primal body emotional signal from your body intelligence about things that are going on around you in that moment. They don't refer to the past. The body stores emotional memory, but it doesn't bring it up because it knows the past is gone. So the biggest myth for me is that there's something lacking in your body, which rest can fill. Certainly not. Supplements, people have normally been put upon incredible array of supplements, etc. And those of you that have tried them will notice that there's very little change to your symptoms because it doesn't answer the message behind the symptoms that your body's been trying to send you. It's a little bit like someone has sore foot and medicine is studying what's going on with the little red bits and the cut bits, and they go in with a microscope and they find that there's increased mast cells, say, and they think, well, that's the cause of the problem. But no, when they get the person a better fitting shoe, all the problems look after themselves and go away. So there are a number of areas of medicine that are focusing on things that I think they just generate fear amongst those of you that suffer from chronic fatigue because they're not valid. I mean, if they had been, Mickel Therapy would not be in its 25th year of, working with people and getting great success. It just wouldn't happen because we never focus on any of those points. We focus solely on the body consciousness, the true message behind the symptoms, which is always about underlying primal body emotions. And in doing that and in teaching the person how to recognize these emotions and empower themselves with them, then the body can be allowed to stop sending symptoms. So anyway, that's what I want to say about the biggest myth for me is that chronic fatigue does not respond to rest. Thank you.